everybody, and welcome back to the Comic Schtick Podcast, where comics are my shtick. I'm glad everybody seems to have enjoyed the first episode fairly well. Got some good responses on there. I enjoyed the discourse in the comments, suggestions, very good suggestions. So thank you all for who commented on there. Again, if you feel free to leave more comments in this video or the first one, whichever, on any topics, anything you want to hear me talk about, any rants you want to make me go on, anything like that. Just leave them down below in the comments. On today's episode, I think I said last time that we are talking about mostly Peacemaker and then some obscure DC characters. Assuming that I can get to that point and I don't take too long like I did last time. It's probably going to be another half hour to an hour, although the first episode was almost an hour and a half. I'll try to cut that back down. Hopefully that'll be better for you. I don't know. What do you think of the length of the episodes? Do you want it to be about an hour? Do you want it to be closer to an hour and a half hour? I don't know. What do you want? Tell me what you want. What you really, really want. Just sort of moving my microphone here just to make adjustments. Sorry. You know, I'm very professional, as you can tell. Yeah, I don't really have any preamble or introduction like I did last time. You sort of, I got all that out of my system, why I'm doing this, what I'm doing it for. I guess all I'd have to talk about would be, this episode of the podcast is brought to you by Destructo Boy. There you go, you can see that right here. That's Destructo Boy, issue number 1, The Era of Alpha Cardinal, part 1 of 2. Part of a upcoming 5-issue, little self-published mini-series, I guess we'll call it, of Destructo Boy books. The first 4 issues are 2-parters, so part 1, part 2, and then the second story is part 1, part 2, and then the final story is going to be a little longer in terms of page count, about 30-something pages, I want to say, and that's going to be one larger story. This will hopefully be going on sale very soon. We're getting closer and closer to the printers being able to, get the work done and get this released into my hands so I can start selling it online. And yes, this is all done. All the art is done in here, as you can sort of see right here. I'll try and figure out how I can flip through here. All right, there you go. As you can see, I've done all the art. Working on issue 3 right now. It's just black and white with some screen tones on there. Working on issue 3 right now. So I'll be able to, stay ahead of the curve in terms of release schedule, hopefully. Let me just put that down for now. Yeah, stay tuned for more updates on that. You'll definitely be hearing them. But let's get right into it. Let me take a drink. So today, I am doing a little Daredevil update. As always, I have my notes right here on my computer. You can't see them, only I can. My first thing of business is the Nocenti Daredevil update. As I said last week, I am reading through the entire Ann Nocenti run on Daredevil. Like I also said last week, I have never read the Frank Miller issues of Daredevil. At least I don't think I have. I might have read one issue here or there. I've only ever, other than that, I've only ever read the Brian Michael Bendis. And Nocenti is still my favorite, I think, of those two. Brian Michael Bendis, he does a great job. Those are those 2 books. I have the 2 omnibuses, omnibuy. I feel like every time the word omnibus is brought up and people have to pluralize it, then they go, oh, is it omnibus or omnibuy? I have those 2 of the Brian Michael Bendis run. Yeah, they're really good books, but I don't know. There's just something about Ann Nocenti's weird, crazy Daredevil stories accompanied by John Romita Jr.'s art that I just love. So let me see what we got here in the terms of the discussion. So, yes, this is, I don't think this is the introduction. I don't know where Bushwacker, the character, comes from. I probably should have looked that up. I don't know if Nocenti created him or if he was a character beforehand. Bushwacker might be one of the, might be a Punisher character. He might have been introduced there. He's, how do I describe him? He is a flesh gun. Oh, man. I should have thought that through. He's a flesh gun, but not in the way that you're thinking of it. I might sound a little nasally right now. It's because I just sneezed. I cut it all out. I don't know what the fuck he is. I think he got he got experimented on. That's right, because he talks about it in this book. Okay, so Bushwacker is this insane former soldier mercenary guy who, at the will of his mental commands, can transform his arm or just his body parts into guns that shoot something. I don't know what it is he actually shoots. I have no idea how he works. Bushwacker has never been a character I've been very interested in. I know that might shock you. Does he eat the bullets? Because in this issue that he's in, it's a Wolverine crossover issue, and by that I mean Wolverine and Daredevil meet on maybe 5 pages. Wolverine is hunting down Bushwacker because Bushwacker has been hired to assassinate mutants. Interesting thing is that in the first 30 some odd issues of the Daredevil and Nocenti run, there's a weird amount of X-Men crossovers and tie-ins. Makes sense. X-Men was the top book of Marvel. It might still be with the Hickman shit going on. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about 30, almost 40 years prior. So Wolverine is hunting down Bushwacker because Bushwacker he has this list of mutants that he's going and killing. So he's just hunting them down, essentially. Where was I? Where did I get off on this tangent at? That's the good thing about having a podcast host, is that you can sort of help keep each other back on track. But it's all up here. I got to keep all this straight. Let's see. So I was talking about how the fuck Bushwacker works. So Wolverine hunts him down later in the story, and he's like in a movie theater. I don't know, maybe it's like a Lee Harvey Oswald homage or something. And he's like watching fucking Looney Tunes, and fucking these are Looney Tunes. That's Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck. It's just, that's another tangent. Here we go. In a lot of older comics from the 80s and 90s is around when they stopped doing it. There's a lot of like licensed imagery in here, like fucking the Looney Tunes guys. They don't look exactly the same. They're drawn in, I think this issue is Rick Leonardi, who is an incredible artist. It's like in his more sort of style, but it's clearly them. But yeah, you would just always see a lot of licensed imagery and characters, products, whatever, in these books. And then I think, I don't know really what happened. I don't see a lot of people talk about this. I'm not really sure who you would ask to find out about it. I guess maybe like a comic book historian or something. Like, was there some sort of, it's clearly it's legal issues, but, well, like, when did that stop being a thing? Because fucking when you go back, and even I want to say in like the Ultimate Marvel universe, you would still see some licensed products in there. Like, not licensed, but like the logos and the intellectual properties and the trademarks and whatever. Like, how do you get away with it? Like, fucking Todd McFarlane was using CNN's logo in Spawn. Like, how does he get away with that? I don't think it'd be under parody. It's not like how South Park gets away with it. It's just something interesting that I've noticed reading a lot of older books. I'm going to keep touching my nose because my allergies are really bothering me. So just try to ignore that. Anyway, back to Bushwacker. Bushwacker, how the fuck does he work? He's sitting in the movie theater playing with like some bullets. Does that mean that his arm gun has like a cartridge in it that he inserts the bullets into? Does he eat them? Does he stick them someplace else? Does he just pop them in his chest and it comes out of his hand? Because at one point he shoots through a finger. Like, what the fuck is that? Is he shooting bone? What is he doing? I don't know if it's ever been explained. But yeah, that's the whole issue, is Bushwacker being a terrible person. Wolverine's hunting him down, and Karen, without consulting Matt, opens a hotline free advice clinic in which, it's you call in if you're feeling like suicidal, or if you have addiction issues or abuse, if you need like legal advice. That's what Matt's doing. He's essentially being a lawyer for free, and that eventually runs afoul with the city and the lawyers board. I don't know what you call him, because since he's been disbarred after the Frank Miller run. So he's not a lawyer right now. Like I said in the first episode when I was talking about this, he's a fucking fry cook. Or he's just a chef at this little diner, which they haven't really gone back to. I don't know if he's still there at this point. I feel like later in the series you'll see him there again. But at this point, he's mostly spending a lot of his time at this free clinic that they've set up. And, all the fat boys are hanging out there. It's not a derogatory term against people who are fat. That's the name of a small group of children who have formed a gang calling themselves the Fat Boys. And they run around riding their skateboards and hanging out with Daredevil and getting into trouble and whatnot. So yeah, he's doing that, and the next story arc, which is really interesting for the Nocenti run, at least from the issues that I've already read, her story arcs are, I don't know what the word is I'm looking for. I was gonna say benign, but that's not necessarily correct. They're, for lack of better words, they're not as flashy or as, crazy as most comic book story arcs are. It's not as melodramatic, I guess. It's more realistic. Or not really realistic. Not realistic per se. Yeah, I guess just less flashy. Because this comic story arc is about a lawsuit against a chemical company. Yeah, and it runs for quite a few issues. There is a whole legal trial. That's not good. My monitor just turned black. There is a whole legal process and trial going on, and it lasts for some time. You don't really see any of it, obviously, because Matt isn't a lawyer. He's sort of just advising this group of this ecological group, ecological group. This, a preservation group, essentially. They're trying to stop this big chemical company called Kelco to stop illegally dumping their chemical wastes, which also end up blinding this child. Matt's just taking a walk at the park, and he sees this little boy who has like this little remote control RC. I don't know why I said RC. That's what that stands for remote control. He has this remote control little boat, and he's playing in a lake. And the boat gets tipped over, and Matt's like watching him. He's like, "Hey, kid, that's a cool boat." And so the boat gets tipped over, and the little boy's like, "Oh no, my boat!" So he swims out through the lake, and to get it back because he can't pilot it back, and he swims into like a body of chemical waste, and he's blinded. And fuck, this child in this comic about Daredevil is, blinded by chemical waste, and he's not getting superpowers. He is gonna be a blind person for the rest of his life. Eventually, in a later issue, actually the one where Typhoid Mary's introduced, Matt will begin training him, sort of in a similar way that Stick did, not as a ninja or whatever, but a little better than that. Like teaching him to use his senses to see and not be frail or afraid, to combat life and combat what he has been dealt. But that just got me thinking, how great would it be if this kid, what's his name? His name's Tyrone. What if this kid became like Matt Murdock's Shilo Norman? Shilo Norman, if you don't know, is the third Mr. Miracle. He was a little black kid who used to hang out with Mr. Miracle in the original Kirby run. It's been a while since I've read that series. I can't remember how he's introduced, but he sort of... he just starts hanging out with Scott Free and Barda and Oberon, and like he helps him out and shit, and he's working with him, helps him save the day, blah blah blah. He's a really fun character. I love him. And eventually he becomes Mr. Miracle. And in the shitty New 52 comic, I think it's New 52, he is just Mr. Miracle, the celebrity magician or something. And yeah, I don't know about that. He's also in the Seven Soldiers Grant Morrison run. He is that Mr. Miracle. If you've read that or you're familiar with it, he's Mr. Miracle in there. And he's also, I didn't learn this until just the other day when I bought the issues. He had a fucking mini-series last year, like 5 or 6 issues. It was called Mr. Miracle, the Source of Freedom, the Source for Freedom, Source of Freedom. I think it's Source of Freedom, which is seemingly in an alternate reality because the original Mr. Miracle, Thaddeus... Fuck, what is his name? Thaddeus something. He's black in that universe, and he's not normally. So I assume it takes place in an alternate reality, possibly one where Scott Free never becomes Mr. Miracle, and it just goes straight to Shilo. Anyway, what I'm saying here is, Marvel Editorial, if you're listening, I have a story for you about Tyrone. I don't know if he ever gets a last name. I can make one up. Tyrone becoming another Daredevil, or the next Daredevil, because I doubt that you want to get rid of Matt. You already have Kate Bishop Hawkeye. I can't think of any other legacy characters that share the same name, but fuck, why not do Daredevil? You already got Elektra being... Is she Daredevil? I don't know what Elektra's calling herself now. Is she just called the Woman Without Fear? Is she Elektra? That's how you can see how much I read modern comics, is when I don't know if Elektra has an actual superhero name while she's Daredevil, dressed like Daredevil or not. But fuck, I can write a story where I was about to say Shilo Norman. I can write a story where Tyrone is grown up and becomes Daredevil. That would be pretty fucking cool. He learns that Matt Murdock is Daredevil, because who doesn't? And, you know, Matt's already training him. He gets some training. Some stuff happens to him, I'll say that. And fuck yeah, he just becomes his own vigilante self, man. Becomes Daredevil, baby. He's another Daredevil. Now you got 2 Daredevils in Hell's Kitchen. They can team up against Kingpin. They can team up against the Owl. They can team up against Bullet, who is a character that is created for this run. You like that segue? It's a lot better than the one in the first episode. So yeah, that's really what happens in that Bushwacker issue. That killed 20 minutes. In Daredevil 250 is the first time that JR, John Romita Jr., not actually a junior, did you know that? People just called him John Romita Jr. It's when he comes onto the book and becomes the long-running artist on it. So Bullet. Bullet is this government-issued hitman who is a fucking massive tank of a guy. He has super strength and durability, apparently, seemingly. It's never explained where he gets it from. He wears a black face mask that goes down over his face, and you can only see his eye holes. It kind of looks like a bandana, but I think it's like a metal mask or something. And he's a shitty father, I'll tell you that. He has a young son who's a paranoid, anxious wreck. The son lives alone in an apartment that Bullet pays for because he doesn't want to live with him. Seemingly out of an altruistic sense. You know, he's like, I'm a hitman. I don't want to give my son up. I still want to be there with him, but it's not safe for him to live with me. But at the same time, it just does not seem like that, because I think the son might be autistic of some sort. This is just me projecting my own thoughts onto this book written in 1989. He sort of seemed... There's something mentally askew with him, trying to dance around the subject. Because the son, he just obsesses about certain things. This current thing that he's obsessed over when we are introduced to him is the I'm like George W. Bush. The nuclear apocalypse. Nuclear apocalypse. And he's freaking out, and somehow he has... Well, I guess I say somehow, but he has to feed himself some way. So I assume Bullet just gives him money, which he goes and spends on, like, MREs and, like, fucking doomsday prep and shit. Like, gas masks, whatever. And he's, like, holed up in this apartment complex building, his apartment room. Apartment, I should just say, because it's, like, a big empty apartment that clearly only a child lives in. And he's just freaking out about this, and it's a very sad tale. I don't really have much to say about it other than that. In addition to this story, which is running alongside concurrently, Bullet is hired by a government general to assist the Kelco Company in stopping some protests, and also burning down that environmentalist group's headquarters. So he runs afoul of Daredevil, obviously. But the other person running a little bit afoul, not with Daredevil, but with Matt Murdock, is Foggy Nelson. That's right. Foggy Nelson is finally reintroduced into the series. He is a high-rise, office-working, well-paid, expensive suit-wearing lawyer, and he has been hired to defend the Kelco Corporation. So you can see where Matt and Foggy are crossing paths here. They haven't spoken or anything. They haven't interacted with each other as of yet. Matt does find out that Foggy is in charge of the Kelco defense, but at this point, he's not a lawyer, so there's not much he can really do. But yeah, that's the current sort of running story arc. The interesting thing also is that I guess there's like a mini story arc once Typhoid Mary is introduced, but I'll get to that in just a little bit. There's a great issue, Christmas issue, where Kingpin is he's essentially Scrooge. He's trying to get his illicit shit done, but it's Christmas, so nobody's working. There's these two psychos calling themselves the Wild Boys, who are, they're just fucking, like, insane people. I think they might be derived from a previous issue where there's a blackout, which has to do with, you guessed it, another X-Men tie-in, where all of New York is blacked out, and immediately just the anarchists come up out of the woodwork and start, like, I don't remember what this dumb guy's name. I hate this issue. It's not a good issue. It's just not a fun story. It's so dumb. But there's this guy who becomes the leader of the anarchists. Ironic. And, like, he's like, it's our time now. We shall inherit the earth. And, like, they get all their guns and shit, and they put together this, like, A-Team style tank. And they're driving through the streets of Hell's Kitchen in New York, fucking shooting people up and shit. And, Daredevil is there. And I think it's... Fuck, who else is in that book? Oh, yeah, it's Daredevil and Black Widow. And they team up with these ex-Marines who are trying to defend their neighborhood. And they all take them down, blah, blah, blah. But I don't know where these Wild Boys come from. That's what they call themselves. It might be characters from that story, because it happens pretty soon after that issue of the tie-in. But anyway, they're running around causing havoc. They're driving their fucking car up on the sidewalks, beating the shit out of people, stealing stuff. And it's Christmas Eve, so It's Christmas. But yeah, the main thing I wanted to say about this is once Matt easily whoops their asses, he grabs both of them by the necks and rips them out of their car, and he says, "I know how to apply just enough pressure to you." Fuck, I fucked it up. "I know how to apply just enough pressure to have you slowly fade out with the image of my face burned into your skulls. Merry Christmas, scum." That is such a fucking killer line. God damn, that is badass. I love it so much. That is the best part of that issue. Because it's also not a very good one. It's kind of dumb. It's hokey. But yeah, there's like a fat boy who's idolizing the Wild Boys, and he's like, "Oh, they're so cool. They get away with whatever they want. This and that. They got all this. They're stealing stuff. They drive a sweet car." But at the end of the issue, he ends up running up to their crashed car, steals something out of it, which turns out to be like a skateboard, because one of the members of the Fat Boys is a girl. And this boy, who is obsessed with the Wild Boys, has like a crush on her. And she doesn't have a skateboard, so she can't really partake in any of their reindeer games. So he gives her one for Christmas. He's like, "To Darla, Merry Christmas." And she's like, "Oh, you're so, thank you, blah, blah, blah." Whatever it is, you know, they're like 10 years old, so they're not really showing many like emotions or feelings. They don't know how to like process that stuff, so they're awkward about it. But that's a cute part of that story. Kingpin continues just orchestrating Matt's ruin. He is also... Oh man, so this is convoluted. So Kingpin... Let's see here. Kingpin owns Kelko. Well, like, you know, owns, like he has them in his pocket. He doesn't want them to be a clean company, so he pays people off to ensure that they're not, and that they keep illegally dumping, because he knows that eventually it'll get caught and come out. And then Matt Murdock will come to the defense, because that's what that asshole always does. And then they will hire Foggy Nelson to be the defender, or the defender of Kelko. And that will tear at Matt's life, because he has to go against his best friend. And also that general from earlier I told you about that hired Bullet. He's there too. He's in the Kingpin's pocket, and Kingpin's orchestrating all this shit. And his aide comes up to him and he's like, "Sir, this isn't really working. The Kelko defense is sort of losing currently. They're not swaying enough of the jury or whatever." So, in issue 254, we are introduced to Typhoid Mary. Typhoid Mary, I love her. She's a great character. I think she's one of my favorite Daredevil characters, definitely. Kingpin, Typhoid Mary, Bullseye. I said it there. I fucking said it. What do you want, huh? Daredevil. Bullseye's overrated. He's a fucking hack. Typhoid Mary. She's introduced. What is she? Who is she? What does she do? I've never heard of Typhoid Mary, I hear you say. Was she that dumb character in Jessica Jones Season 3? Yes, apparently. I didn't watch it. Typhoid Mary's introduced, killing a gang of... She's going around Hell's Kitchen and killing gangs and, like, racketeers and gambling dens and drug dens and shit. It's all these places owned by the Kingpin in one way or another, and she's just stealing their money. Oh, excuse me. She's kind of like Joker or something in Dark Knight. She also rapes a guy. It's fucked up. She uses her powers, which I'll explain in a little bit, to essentially brainwash him and have him under her control. They go and slaughter a gang hideout, then begin burning it to the ground, and then she pushes him to the floor and forces him to have sex with her in this burning building surrounded by corpses. And the guy's like, oh God, can't we just at least close their eyes or something? And she's like, no, I love it when they watch. Oh boy. So anyway, Typhoid Mary. Typhoid Mary is a woman who was born with two personalities. Apparently it was discovered during like her infancy or when she was a toddler that she has multiple personalities. The personalities, which I forgot, their names. Her main personality is Mary. The evil personality is Typhoid, for some reason. So, I don't know, is it Typhoid and Mary? What can she do? As she's a completely different person, essentially, when she goes between them. Different heartbeats, different, like, brain waves, all that shit. Also, when she's Mary, also when she's Typhoid, she has, like a really high temperature. I don't know why. I guess it has something to do with typhoid. You know, you get it. It's like typhoid. So she's both physically and literally hot. She also develops telekinesis and a little bit of telepathy. She can move small objects. I don't think her training got that far. I don't know if it's ever stated if she is a mutant or not. I wouldn't surprise me if she is. Although she did display the differences, like the personality shit, when she was born. But maybe she just was born. Maybe she is a mutant. She was born with the personality disorder. That's just a thing that happened to her. But her mutation... I don't know. Her mutation somehow put the mutation into the wrong body. I don't know. This is all conjecture on my part. But yeah, so she also has like a heightened strength, you know. She's a supervillain, why wouldn't she? But only when she's the Typhoid personality. Only when she's Typhoid Mary. She also dresses in a way that cannot be described. If you've never seen a picture of her, definitely look up Typhoid Mary. You're probably going to see a lot of the newer renditions, which I don't particularly care for. It's mostly her in like a leather coat. Sometimes she's just completely shirtless underneath, no bra, no shirt or anything, so you can just see her side boob going on. She has like a tattoo on her stomach for some reason. And yeah, she'll wear like jeans or short cut off jeans with fishnet stockings. That's like the only thing that remains true to like part of her character for some reason. That and her like face paint. Yeah, I don't care for that one or the new updated one where she has the corset and like black and white on each side or whatever it is. I prefer it's like it's that Magneto meme. I prefer the real Typhoid Mary. And that is a woman with hair out to here, like fucking Don King. Sticking out crazy. Wearing a giant shoulder pad on one arm, only one arm. A big pink coat thing that has one sleeve. Rockin', what does she wear? She wears like short shorts that are denim or something, and like torn up fishnet stockings and boots. And she uses swords. It is such an insane design. And I love it. There's the fucking bright pink of her coat and like the red of her hair. It looks so good. I love that design. It's asymmetrical all the way through. Nothing about it makes sense. That's why it's perfect. So anyway, Typhoid Mary's introduced. She's fucking up Kingpin stuff for just reasons. Seemingly, she's just fucking him up just because she wants money, I guess. I don't know. It's never... They don't go into it. She's just fucking shit up. It's what you do when you're with the NWA crew. And meanwhile, this is when, remember I said earlier, Matt is starting to train Tyrone. He has also, what's the word I'm looking for? He has also retired, essentially, for the time being, from being Daredevil. So he's just full-on Matt Murdock, for the most part. He's still Daredevil occasionally. It seems like he's mostly Daredevil to commute. Like, he puts on the suit and just swings across the city. But yeah, he's like spending a lot of his time just helping people out at the clinic and going to the hospital to visit Tyrone. He's working on the case still, the Kelko case. But yeah, this is really when he starts training him. He comes in, like I said, he commutes there as Daredevil and like sneaks in through the window and changes. Doesn't have to worry about anybody seeing him. Tyrone's blind. And he's like, okay, Tyrone, it's time to do the game again. Which, oh man, that sounds really bad out of context. Oh, I'm just gonna go play this game that involves my fist and a blind boy. Ooh. Matt, he puts his fist in front of Tyrone's face, and he's like, okay, tell me where my fist is. And, you know, he's trying to get Tyrone to use all of his senses, all of the senses that he has left, which is everything other than his eyes. And eventually, I guess he's doing pretty well on that, because he graduates up to standing on a stool and having to step to another stool. This blind child, you know. And that's where, that's all the further they get in this issue of his, like, training. Because elsewhere in town, Kingpin has called forth Typhoid Mary because he wants to hire her. He wants to hire her to ruin Matt's life, essentially. $1 million. She also, for some reason, I forgot to mention, she has this particular effect on men, which she can use to make them essentially fall in love with her. It's what she did on that guy from earlier that she raped. So yeah, she can do that. So Kingpin, he finds out all the information about her. He gets like the classified documentation, whatever, through his connections. So he hires her for $1 million, make Matt Murdock fall in love with you, break his heart, then crush it, literally kill him. So that's what Typhoid Mary's doing. And she cleans herself up and goes to the hospital and sits in the waiting room, waits to see him. And Matt shows up one day and he tries to go see Tyrone, and they're like, oh, sorry, Tyrone's meeting with his doctor right now. You can feel free to wait in the waiting room. And he sits down next to this beautiful young woman. And she's like, oh, you're here to see Tyrone too? I'm actually a volunteer for the blind. My father was blind, so I know a lot about, like, you know, what the struggle is. I lived in the dark like he did. And, like, as she's doing this, she's doing, like, here, feel my face. I know that's how blind people see. It's a cultural faux pas to some and seen as impolite, but your hands are the only eyes you have. And I think it might be through skin contact she makes people fall in love with her. So that's probably what that's about. And Matt's like, damn, who is this woman? Oh my God, she's like beautiful and she's so nice and hot and she knows blind people. And yeah, it ends with their introduction. To be continued. Does not go well, I'll tell you that. Matt Murdock's love life never does. And yeah, that's where I am at with the Nocenti Daredevil run. That only took, 40 minutes? Oh, man. On to my next topic, which is Beta Ray Bill, Argent Star. I picked this book up and I read it in I read it in a day. It's a very quick read. It is incredible. Danny Warren Johnson's writing is fun. His art is amazing. This is something I really wanted to talk about. So I'm interjecting it here in the middle. It is like the perfect evolution of Walt Simonson's old Thor book, especially the onomatopoeias that Tina Warren Johnson uses. They're fun. They're just, oh my god, this book is incredible. Everybody go pick this book up. It is insane, the art that he has in here. Fucking impeccable. God, I wish I had the money to buy some originals from this book, because oh my, I'm speechless. It's fucking insane. It's so good. Unfortunately, it's a King in Black tie-in for like one of the issues, so that kind of dampens it. I don't care for any of that, but it's very easy to ignore. Fin Fang Foom is in it in the first issue. He's apparently been taken over by Null, the symbiote god, and he has new pants. He has new black pants, which is a very funny visual. That Fin Fang Foom has special colors of pants. Like he has a different pair for how he's feeling or whatever. He's like, oh, today I think I'll wear my black pants because I've been taken over by an evil man. Yeah, it's fantastic. And also, spoiler alert, Beta Ray Bill's ship, his intelligent ship, the Scuttlebutt, it becomes sentient. It has a body. And I can easily see this. I see this as like, I doubt this is what it was. But it just made me think as I was reading it that it's sort of like a analogy or something, or an analog for a relationship in which one of the members of this relationship, comes out as being trans or something. Because Scuttlebutt and Bill, they've known each other basically their whole lives. Scuttlebutt was like assigned to be Beta Ray Bill's personal AI, whatever. And all this time it's been a ship. I think the reason that I feel like that trans analog works so well is because every other time I've seen Scuttlebutt, I've just default read it as a man's voice, and then in this book, the Scuttlebutt, it's given a body, and it's this like it's a woman, it's a female body. It's a fucking dummy thick female body, I'll say, by the way. But yeah, it's this beautiful story of accepting who you are and accepting the loved ones that you're with. Like, once Scuttlebutt comes out as this female robot, Bill, he's sort of like, I don't know what to think about this. It's weird. It's making me a little bit uncomfortable, but like, you're still my ship. You're still my best friend, essentially. And then at the very end of the story, they become together, and they're like, we've been through so much, we know each other front and back, and now we can still be together. The book ends with them sitting on it doesn't really end, but at the end of the book, they're sitting on a bench on the ship, and they're sitting together looking at something, this story point, the thing that Bill has to collect. I won't spoil it or anything. And they're sitting there, and they sit next to each other, not saying anything, and then Scuttlebutt puts her hand on Bill's hand, and then they embrace, they cuddle up together. It's quite beautiful. I'm about to cry. It's such a sweet story. And then, and at the same time, it has Scourge the Executioner taking a break from Valhalla and shooting shit, and Pip the Troll, for some reason, I guess he doesn't want to hang out with Adam Warlock anymore, until the next time Jim Starlin gets the chance to write him. But yeah, I just wanted to say that Beta Ray Bill Argent Star is fucking incredible, and go read it if you haven't. So, let's get into this. The Peacemaker Finale. Let me situate myself. Oop, bump my table. The Peacemaker Finale. I keep making that face. I don't know why. I loved it. I love the whole series. Let me move my mic a little bit so I can sort of get a little comfortable and talk about this. I know that there's a lot of people who are like, ooh, episode 1. How many episodes were there? Is it 8? Episode 1 to 3 were great, and then episode 4 to 6 were bleh. And then, it came back at the end. But, fuck, I don't get that. That was fucking such a good show. Oh my god, I cannot say enough good things about the Peacemaker series. I'm so glad it's getting a second season. But the big thing that I saw a lot of people talking about through like Reddit and various Discord servers that I'm on, and they're like, "Oh man, that was a really sweet finale. That's really good. Too bad Marvel over here can't do a good finale. Whoo-wee, that stinks." I've also never had a problem with the Marvel Disney Plus show finales. WandaVision, it wasn't what I was expecting, but I still enjoyed it. Falcon and Winter Soldier. My biggest issue with Falcon and Winter Soldier finale was that they fucking shot Batroc the Leaper, who's one of my favorite Captain America villains. What other shows are there? Hawkeye, love that show all the way through. What If? It was alright. Is there another one I'm forgetting? I can't fucking remember. I cannot remember at all. Falcon, Winter Soldier, WandaVision. I feel like there's one I'm forgetting. Loki! Goddamn, Loki. Fucking, if you left a comment saying I forgot Loki, I don't know, don't delete it, because it'll help my algorithm views or whatever. Loki. Love that all the way through as well. Didn't have any issues. But apparently a lot of people did. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. But I don't know. I feel like I'm going to go off my list of notes right here, because I wrote this in a discussion on a Discord channel. So I just sort of copied and pasted it because I thought it would be an interesting topic to talk about. Also, I don't think I'm going to be able to get to my DC obscure characters this week either. So that'll be next week. I really need to plan this out better. Anyway, so I didn't look into it as far because I just didn't care as to what people's biggest issues with the finale of Peacemaker was. A lot of the controversy comes from fucking idiots complaining, oh, why wasn't Batman there? Why wasn't Ray Fisher there? Even though Ray Fisher is completely done with Warner Brothers, doesn't want anything to do with the Cyborg character anymore. They probably couldn't, I don't know, if they wanted to show him there, they would have to do the same thing they did with Wonder Woman. I guess that would be fine to some people, but goddamn, Cyborg on the Justice League, who gives a shit, really? Fucking, he's on the Teen Titans, man. Get over it. That's coming from somebody who actually likes Cyborg. He's a fun character. He's a heartbreaking character. You know what they should have done? You know what they should have done? Just to really piss people off? They should have had Cyborg there. But they should have had... Is it Jovian Wade? I've never said his name out loud. I've never heard anybody else say it. Jovian Wade is the guy who plays Cyborg on the Doom Patrol show, if you aren't aware. And he is incredible. He is leagues ahead of Ray Fisher's Cyborg in terms of acting and the character and the writing. They just should have brought him in. They should have had his Cyborg there if they wanted to have a Cyborg. God almighty. Imagine the Snyder people freaking out about that. And I want it to be known that I loved the Zack Snyder's Justice League, so don't bitch at me about that if you're thinking about it. I doubt anybody has gotten this far who would. I loved it. It's far better than the theatrical version. I was as pissed as most people were when Zack Snyder didn't get to make his version of the Justice League. I didn't think that was right. Do I think that they should continue his DC universe? Absolutely not. Am I happy that they got a end cap bookmark and that he was finally able to do it? Absolutely. And I don't think he's in any hurry to go back. He's fucking working on Star Wars, but they say fuck or whatever. Whatever it's going to be called. His knockoff Star Wars movie. But anyway. That's a lot of the issues that I saw, but I feel like the most part people just they were like, oh, it was a boring finale. They just shot some stuff. But what I think is that the audience reaction really had a lot to do with how most people, I don't know, this is all, like I said, it's all conjecture on my point. It's my personal theories, my thoughts on why the Peacemaker, people are saying that it's better than the Disney finale. That's what I'm talking about here, remember, is that people, I saw a lot of people, I keep seeing, this was a couple weeks ago it aired, there was a lot of discussion online in various places that the DC finale of Peacemaker was better than the Marvel shows. Now, I'm not saying it is one way or the other. It's subjective, blah, blah, blah. But I think it has something to do with the audience reaction, because the rise of Marvel in the past 5 to 6 to 10 years, probably within the past like 5 to 6 years, it's more likely. It has made it to the point that these Marvel characters, they're household names. Everybody's into it. They're fucking everywhere. Marvel's everything. Everybody knows Marvel. Even if, they aren't reading the comics, they're like, hey, that's Pip the Troll. That's not true. I know for a fact that isn't true. Because so many people in that theater were confused when Pip the Troll showed up. Everybody's into it, and social media is going crazy for Marvel and the MCU, but it is not just social media, but the general audience, the general public. They're going crazy for it. But they're not doing that for the DC Cinematic Universe, DCEU, whatever the fuck they're calling it. And rightly so, due to the Snyder films. Those aren't the best films, I'll be honest. They're still fun to watch, I guess, but those weren't good renditions of the characters. Those were good renditions for Snyder's version of the DC Comics universe. But that is not what Warner Brothers should have done. They should not have gone immediately dark if they want to have a long-lasting, cultural influence. Because their cultural influence now is the Snyder cultists on Twitter and, ooh, DC's darker than Marvel. But yeah, a lot of the audience perception has been mediocre towards the Peacemaker. And that is just an effect, because when people see, oh, there's a new Marvel TV show coming out on Disney Plus. Oh my god, I gotta go fucking, I gotta re-up my Disney Plus renewal, I gotta go buy the backpack, I gotta buy the shirt, I gotta buy my kids the fucking toys, I gotta buy myself the better toys, I gotta go buy the first appearance comic books, oh my god, I'm freaking the fuck out. But when people see that DC is getting a new show, they're like, who the fuck is Stargirl? Okay? Who is Peacemaker? Who gives a shit? This is gonna fail. Nobody cares. It's DC. We all know DC's bad. You still got the people buying the first issues and whatever of Peacemaker and everything. You still got the scalpers. You still got the speculators in both sides of the court. But the reaction isn't there. It's not as visceral. It's not as emotional to people. They don't care as much because they've been burnt by the Snyder films and by fucking whatever his name was who did Suicide Squad, the first one. And I guess Wonder Woman 2 isn't very good. I still haven't watched it. Like DC's track record, it's not the best. You have to admit, it is not the best in terms of reviews. It's like, what, Shazam, Aquaman, What else have they done? Where are my DC fucking things? I'm blanking completely. It's the Suicide Squad. That's probably the best one. I think in terms of reviews, everybody loved that one. It seems, even though it didn't do very well in terms of box office. But fuck, you're in the middle of a pandemic. What do you expect? So yeah, it didn't have that hype train going after it, and that's another thing I think is the issue, is that in addition to excitement about seeing these new characters and these new properties being taken into films and TV, God knows what's going to happen when Blue Beetle comes out. I'm pretty sure they're making that. Hopefully it'll be better by then. But I digress. There's a greater reaction in terms of the theories and things you missed. For the most part. I know fucking there's like new rock stars and all those other fucking YouTube channels doing the things you missed and whatever. But it's not to the extent that the Marvel shows have. God almighty, if you were online in certain like parts of the web when WandaVision was coming out, you would see a lot of porn. But if you were in another section of the internet when WandaVision was coming out, you would see theory after theory after theory. Everybody knows Mephisto. It's Mephisto. There's memes of Mephisto. Is Mephisto the cat? All this shit. There's theories about Falcon and Winter Soldier. There's theories about Loki. Who's this? Who's that? Theories about Hawkeye. When's Kingpin gonna show up? Is Kingpin gonna show up? Who's the villain? This, blah, 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 you know. I didn't see that as much for Peacemaker. I mean, you know, I did it personally myself. I made that video where I talked about my theories. I saw a little bit of discussion here and there online, Twitter maybe. I don't really use Twitter that often. I would see posts on Reddit where people had some ideas, but it wasn't like it is for the Marvel properties. And what happens then with this speculation for the Marvel shows is that, for the most part, the general audience, or the audience in general, particularly those who are exposed to those reactions of the theories and the theory memes, the memeology of it all, because everybody's exposed to it. If you're on the goddamn internet, you see it everywhere. You see Facebook's suggested group, Marvel memes. Hey, look, Scarlet Witch is fighting Mephisto. You know, stuff like that. Go on Twitter, you'll see it. See retweets. You'll see YouTube videos about it. Everywhere you go, you would see it. So those who are exposed to it and those who really get into it and, like, you know, research it themselves, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. They build it up in their mind as to what it's going to be. Could they have done the Scarlet Witch ending better? Yes. I think they've said that there were a lot of rewrites that they had to do due to COVID, unfortunately. But these endings and the finales, they're so built up for the climaxes and where it's all leading. It's all wildly built up in their minds, that once the final product comes out, it's just like, oh, that's it? Well, I had this theory. I thought that Galactus was going to show up at the end of Hawkeye. But it's just Kingpin in that suit that he wore in that dumb Spider-Man comic where Spider-Man has a secret sister who's a secret agent? That's dumb. That's dumb. This whole show's dumb. You know, it's stuff like that. I'm being hyperbolic here, because who doesn't love hyperbole? But that's the general gist of it. And, like, you know, like I said, I didn't see it to the scale of Peacemaker. Because, you know, everybody was going on and on about how great Peacemaker was, just like they go on and on about how great the Disney Plus shows are. But there's that divergence. Peacemaker had the same story beats as most of these comic book shows on Disney Plus do. The bad guy in the final 2 episodes, the bad guy is about to do something really bad. and then there's a cliffhanger, and then the last episode, the bad guy's about to do something bad, and the hero shows up, and the hero tries to stop him from doing something bad, but the hero's defeated, seemingly, and the villain is about to do something bad. But then the hero works up enough strength and viscosity. The hero works up enough, and they're able to stop the villain from doing something bad, and they save the day. Apply that to any real show that has a major villain. Fucking apply that to Loki. Apply that to WandaVision. Apply that to Falcon and Winter Soldier. Apply that to What If. Apply that to Hawkeye. Apply it to Peacemaker. It's all the same. So that's what I think. These are my personal beliefs on why Peacemaker is seen as being better, a better finale. I don't know. I would like to see what other people. If you made it this far, please let me know why you did or did not enjoy the Peacemaker finale, why you think it is or isn't better than other Marvel or than the Marvel Disney Plus shows. What are your thoughts? Why do you think the Peacemaker finale was more widely appreciated and regarded than a lot of the Marvel stuff? Don't be like, Peacemaker is better because DC knows how to write characters who aren't quippy or whatever. Don't do that shit, because fucking who cares about that? So just why do you think so? Why? That's where this all boils down to. We don't know. I don't know why. These are just my feelings on the Peacemaker finale. I loved it. That fucking cow was a horrific thing to look at. But I thought it was great. I really greatly enjoyed the Peacemaker Season 1 finale. The whole season I thought was incredible. I'm so glad that that Green Arrow is a person who exists, that Kite Man exists. I can't remember who else they introduced. I was really hoping, there was a comment on my theory for Peacemaker. Here we go again. My theories didn't live up to what happened. There was a comment on my theory video that said, I think that that the old man neighbor is Mr. Mixie-Pitalik, or Mixis-Pitalik, whichever one, because he's obsessed with Batman. And I was like, that is fucking incredible. James Gunn was talking about Mixie-Pitalik. He's gonna do it. It's gonna be the after credits scene. And then it didn't happen. And I was a bit disappointed. I'll be honest. I was a bit disappointed by that. James Gunn, I know you're watching. What happened there, man? Why did you make Peacemaker finale so terrible? But yeah, that's what I'm getting at here. Is I think it all boils down to the fact that not a lot of people had many expectations for Peacemaker. There's that tweet that keeps going around where it's like somebody was like, nobody asked for Peacemaker, but it's such a good show. And James Gunn is like, yeah, nobody asked for The Sopranos or whatever, or this amazing television show, or this amazing movie, or this, or nobody asked for Star Wars. And that's what I think it boils down to, is that people had such low expectations because it is a DC property that they didn't invest as much time and energy into, being involved and in theorizing and whatever as to where it was going, that when the finale came around, their expectations were so low that they were like, oh, this was great. And maybe not expectations being low. Maybe that's not the right way to put it. But they're like, oh, this is actually really good. I enjoyed it. That was a good show. I don't know why I keep doing that voice. Yeah, like I said, let me know what you thought. We're at the hour point, and I don't want to make you guys sit here for another half hour like I did the first episode. So I will definitely, I keep pushing it back, definitely next week is when I'm going to be talking about obscure DC comic book characters that I love. So I hope you'll enjoy that. I hope you'll be able to find some characters that you like and want to read more on. But we'll save that for next week. Destructo Boy, coming soon to an Etsy shop near you. Destructo Boy and the Era of Alpha Cardinal, Part 1 of 2. It's going to be $9.99, probably plus shipping and handling or whatever. However it is, Etsy doesn't. Here's the back, which is what I will be doing on each issue. I will be taking one character from the comic itself and writing them a little backstory and giving you a cool pinup. This is Oren Aronitis, the feared leader of the Mechnomaniacs. So yeah, like I said, book's done. First 2 issues are done. Third issue is being worked on as we speak. My sweatshop in Korea is working quite hard. And I hope you guys will join me again next week for another episode of the Comic Schtick Podcast. As always, you can follow me on Instagram at smokey'svideos and at notblakewild. I mostly use the at notblakewild one since that's my personal account. I post my art, I post my comics, I post video updates on when I upload stuff. All on there. Smokey's videos, it's mostly just the updates. Occasionally, if I see a funny panel on a comic book I'm reading, I'll post it there too. Again, leave any suggestions you have for me in the comments below on what topics I should cover. I got a pretty good list going so far based on what I've thought of and what you guys have suggested in the comments. Discuss amongst yourselves, comic books, the Daredevil stuff if you want to. I didn't really get into a whole lot of modern day stuff. I haven't gotten to those new books just yet. Let me know what you thought of the Beta Ray Bill comic in the comments. And yeah, let me know more about Peacemaker. What are your thoughts about that whole ordeal? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Let me know. Be like Jeremy Jans. Let me know in the comments below, or whatever it is he says. Yeah. So I think that wraps up this episode. Episode 2 of the Comic Schtick Podcast. I will see you next time. Bye.